Hello, mathematical fifth grade thinkers. Today, the learning goal is that you will be able to solve problems using part-to-part and part-to-whole ratios. And we will talk about what some of those words mean here. Now, a ratio is very similar to a rate. The main difference is that a rate compares quantities with different units. So miles per gallon would be a rate because you're comparing miles or a distance to gallons, which is a quantity of liquid, whereas a ratio compares things with the same unit. So that might be boys to girls because they're both people. It might be wins to losses if you're talking about a sports team, because wins and losses are both games played. So you are comparing two of the same things. Now, there are a few different ways to represent a ratio. We could say that the ratio of boys to girls in the class is 2 to 1. Write it out like that. We could write it as 2 over 1, or we could write it with a colon here and same meaning, 2 to 1. Now, equivalent ratios, we've talked about equivalent fractions. An equivalent ratio is same idea. So 6/8 is a ratio which is equivalent to 3/4. Or you could write it this way, 6 to 8 is the same as 3 to 4. A part-to-part whole, or I'm sorry, a part-to-whole ratio would compare the part of something. So maybe 2 boys out of the whole group. Well, let's say 12 boys out of the whole class would be, let's say, 25. So boys to the whole class, whereas a part-to-part would be 12 boys to the other part of the class, which is 13 girls. All right. So those are your words, important words today. And here are a couple problems, a couple examples. Here, let's try a part-to-part example. A team won 12 games and lost 9. At that rate, how many wins would you expect them to have if they have lost 15 games? Okay, so we have a part. They've won 12 games. That is part of the total games they played. To the other part, they've lost 9. Now, it should be an equivalent ratio. At that rate, how many wins would you expect them to have? So wins, we don't know yet. So we'll say W if they have lost 15 games. So 15 would be the other part. So now at this point, it's cross multiplying. 12 times 15 is 180 equals 9 times W, which we represent as 9W. And now from here, it's dividing because we want to find out what 1W is. So divide by 9, we find that the number of wins is 180 divided by 9, or 20. So you would expect them to have 20 wins if they've lost 15 games using that rate that we had, that ratio. Now, if a team won 12 games and lost 9, how many wins would you expect in the first 14 games? So now we have a whole, the total is 14 games, which means we want to find out how many wins in 14 whole games. And we're comparing that to the 12 games that they won. But now we have to be careful because 9 is not the total number of games they played. That's not the whole. The whole would be 12 games that they've won plus the 9 games that they've lost, so 21. So now when we cross multiply, we have 21W equals 12 times 14, which is, I have to try that out here, is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 4, and 1 times 1. And then 2 plus 4 will be 6. And so 168. And now we have to divide by 21 and find that W, sorry, I'm kind of in a hurry here. W equals 168 divided by 21, which is 8. So at that rate, you would expect them, out of the total 14 games, the whole, you'd expect them to win 8 games. So now try those on your own. And so you should have gotten 36, 36 boys. And so you should be prepared now to solve problems using part-to-part and part-to-whole ratios. So go ahead and practice those in your journals.